In this video, I'm going to take you through the 3 things that I work on with my clients when they want to grow, but they don't want that growth to mean more hours, more work, or more stuff landing on their plate. Hi, I'm Moira. I help established small business owners create the capacity for growth with stronger decisions, simpler business structure, and a lifting up in how you see your role and what's possible for your business. Now, if you already know capacity is an issue for you, I have a free capacity finder, which will help you unlock the 1 to 3 key hidden things that are taking up space in your business right now. I'll pop the link below. All right, let's start with the big one, creating white space. If your working week is already full, your first job is not to work out how to squeeze more into it, it's to take things out. Imagine your business is a desk, and right now that desk is completely covered. Laptop, computer, papers, post-it notes, coffee mug, pens, headphones, hand cream, notebooks, stuff everywhere, right to the edges. And then someone hands you the blueprint for the next stage of your business. Where are you going to put it? There's no room. And that's what I see happening in established businesses all the time. You want to write the book, start the podcast, launch the new offer, create the retreat, or scale what your business can currently handle. But every inch of your week is already occupied by running the business that you have right now. So clear the desk. This means approaching it differently, asking different questions. What can be simplified or removed entirely? What could be automated? What could somebody else do? I have a whole framework that goes into this called Salsa. I have another video on that. I'll link to that below. And remember, we're looking for your next layer. Maybe there are 10 hours of admin that should never have been yours in the first place. Or maybe you already have a team and good systems, but for example, when you look closely, you're still the person making decisions that someone else could make. That's a layer of refinement. Where is the business still using you where it doesn't need to? Fix that, and then come back and ask that question again. One of my clients is a great example of this. When we started working together, she was looking to release a virtual assistant role and see if systems could carry the weight instead. They could, but the interesting result wasn't the time or the money that she saved. It was what that capacity made possible. She opened a second venue. That's the payoff of the payoff. Saving 5-10 hours a week is great. But what those 5-10 hours can become, they could become the book that you've been saying you want to write for years. They could become the new revenue stream. They could become Fridays off. And maybe Fridays off means you arrive at the weekend as a person who's excited to do something with your family rather than trying to drudge up some energy from somewhere because you feel like you've got nothing left in the tank. That's what we're actually creating capacity for. Not an emptier calendar for the fun of it. We're creating room for something else. Now you've made some room, I want to ask you a slightly uncomfortable question. What are you avoiding? And I'm not talking about doing your tax return. I mean the thing that you have an inkling about, that nudge in your stomach, the idea that keeps popping into your head. If you've been running your business for a while, you know a lot. You know your customers, you know your business, and often you have a pretty good instinct about what needs to happen to take you to that next level. But busyness is an extremely convenient camouflage because you can keep saying, I just don't have the time to think about that right now. And that can be true for years if you keep filling every available hour. This is where growing your business without working more hours becomes an identity shift. Because in the early stages of your business, more effort probably did create more growth. You were resourceful, you figured things out, you did the work, you said yes, you made it happen, and that worked. But eventually, the very thing that got you here can become the very thing that's keeping you here. You don't need to be better at carrying or doing more. You need to get better at creating a structure that supports your best work. My uncle is a proper petrol head. He's had some pretty iconic cars over the years, and I think he was slightly horrified when I told him I was learning to drive an automatic. So I'm borrowing a little bit of his world for this one. Think about your first car. It did the job. It got you where you needed to go. It might have gone put down the motorway at 70, but it worked. But if you want a completely different driving experience, you don't just keep pushing on the accelerator. At some point, you have to upgrade the car. And we do the equivalent in business all the time. More content, more clients, another launch, work a little bit later, push a little bit harder, more accelerator. At some point, you have to rethink the car. And in your business, that might be the systems, it might be your team, it might be the decisions that you're making or not making. And sometimes it's you. It's how you see your role and what you believe you should be responsible for. Because if you want the business to operate differently, you have to be willing to operate differently inside of it. But the goal here is for it to be more fun, more of your most important genius zone work. And this is the bit I think we often miss. Once you've created that white space, don't immediately fill that vacuum again. Leave some of the desk empty. Because some of the biggest opportunities in your business aren't going to arrive neatly labeled, hey, business growth opportunity, set aside 3 hours on Thursday. They're going to appear in conversations. Someone mentions something and you think, oh, hang on. Or a client asks a question that makes you see a gap. Someone invites you to something. You meet the right person. You get an idea when you're out walking the dog. Have your spidey senses open. Raise your hand. Have the conversation. Follow the thread. Because when you're absolutely slammed, you can have a brilliant opportunity sitting right in front of you and think, yeah, that sounds interesting, maybe later, and then go back to your inbox. You need enough space in your business and enough space in your brain to notice what's happening around you and actually do something with it. This is where we have to stop seeing white space as something to fill. We can do that automatically, it's just wired in there. But white space is part of your growth strategy. I'm going to say that one again. White space is part of your growth strategy. It's where you think. It's where you notice. It's where you make the decision that you've been circling for months. It's where you stop automatically responding to what the business needs from you today and start deciding what you want the business to look like a year from now. Because ultimately, the aim isn't to build a bigger business that needs a bigger chunk of you to keep it going. It's to build a business that gives you the capacity to do the work you're best at, make the decisions that only you can make, spot and act on opportunities, and have a life outside of it. That's a very different way to grow. If you're thinking, all right, let's wind back to the beginning here. What do I need to do to actually take things off my desk? Then start with my free capacity finder. It'll help you identify the 1 to 3 key release valves in your business that can create more capacity and how to fix them. You'll find the link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.